Steve, you lead this.
Right, there are 4 of us in the room. I'm Steve Patrick.
Chris Kelly, alias Casper.
I'm Ashley Nixon.
And I'm Larry Morris.
And we were the team.
We originally had this idea before the Blair Witch even came out, and the original worry was, will people remember the movie enough to get the parody by the time the animation was done?
Exactly. We actually had 3 different projects. Chris had one, Larry had one, and I had one. They were all different, separate Scooby projects for October, our big Halloween month, obviously. And it was one of those things where when we got the assignment, we were all supposed to come up with our own creative, and I was walking through the office at one point, and Larry and I were talking about seeing the Blair Witch trailer, which was coming out, and the buzz was big on that, and we said, wait a minute, that seems like a fit. Let's all just pool all of our resources together and put something together.
That's my mom. I have to just throw that in real quick. But anyway, I just have to also talk about how by the time the animation was done, of course, there were a million Blair Witch parodies, and they were even parodying the parodies, and we really felt bad about that, but it's just the fact that animation takes so long that it put us behind the curve. But I think it resonated with people anyway, just because Scooby-Doo and Blair Witch execution is a natural fit. And I just want to say also, we did do this on a low budget. I painted those teeth. I did the makeup on that. It wasn't fun. And also...
look in the mirror here. That's
yes.
what's Butch
Siebert.
Butch Siebert
did that.
Amazing job, our compositor here at Turner Studios.
We basically gave him tracking points on all the stuff that we shot, and he just matched them perfectly and put the animation in.
And we should talk about the van while it's rolling along here. We were in Canada, and actually, on a personal note, 4 days before my wedding, we had to fly to Canada to shoot the van because it lives in Los Angeles but goes on tour, and it was cheaper for us to go to Canada to shoot it than it was to bring the van here. And we were also concerned that if we went to LA after it, the woods wouldn't look the same as they do in Atlanta,
but
which these are Atlanta woods.
Leaf continuity.
And one other thing I just want to jump back on the old woman is there was actually a much scarier take, but it was deemed too scary. So what you're seeing is the B take of that woman.
This graveyard is actually in Smyrna, Georgia.
And
home of Julia Roberts.
There you go.
And it's actually in the front yard of a house I used to live in.
We made, with the different styles that were in the original Blair Witch movie, we took, made great efforts to duplicate both the black and white footage, and if you notice, and there'll be more footage later, with the film grain and scratches on the film, as well as the video looks. And actually, on an audio note, we did sweeten the sound effects. Are a little bit different on each if you pay close attention. You can hear a different camera whir when it's film, and then on video it's a different sound.
And that's Michael Kohler. He just was awesome.
Michael Kohler at Soapbox Studios, our audio engineer, and Roy Clements also did some work on this.
It's probably about time that we mentioned Primal. Talk about Primal Screen. They did the animation for us, and
definitely
we had a not so big budget, so we had to utilize a lot of Illustrator files as well. I don't know.
Or we would say, give us animation of someone from behind talking, and we would just reuse it and reconfigure it.
A lot of mileage out of that.
Or a walk
cycle. Flip it a different way, or
and just reuse
whatever.
it and reuse it.
So instead of what we call lip flap, where you make the mouth move into different positions for what you're talking about, we would have what we call hand flap or run flap.
Shoulder flap.
Exactly. And a lot of using... just figuring out ways to have the characters speak off camera, either holding the camera or in the dark, and we got a lot of mileage out of that as well.
And one thing I like is that the animation is still flat, just like the original series. We didn't modernize it. We kept that style, and yet we used shadow and blur to really put them in the setting. I really, really like that technique.
It feels very
off to
of
Butch.
the show, yeah.
Well, the combination of using flat characters along with digital video, we did shoot digital video here, not like professional video,
exactly,
consumer video.
And we did.
Is that it works in that?
Larry did that.
It works in that respect. It's nice cheapness, a cheap quality to it to match the style of the movie.
We have to acknowledge Larry walking through the woods pretty much every night around midnight in the graveyard and everything else. I don't think the rest of us would have been.
Well, and I think that part of the reason that for whatever reason, good or bad, I think that we did get away with a lot, and we were able to get as much coverage and things like that, because a lot of times there were only 2 or 3 of us at any given shoot, pulling our own cables, figuring out our own timings, I think that this is a case where if we had a big crew, it would have really stifled what we were able to do because it would have been too glossy.
Well, we couldn't pan around, like especially this shot right here. I was panning around the woods, and I think Steve was here for this.
That's right.
And Steve would give me cues because this is his script. I believe.
this little section is part of mine.
And I would shoot basically wild with Steve behind me.
Just
So
reading
we had 2 of us in the woods at my parents'
with
house.
a pen light and a script going and falling into sinkholes and.
Actually, and this is with Chris. Chris's hand actually reaches in and grabs these Scooby snacks, and we covered it with animation. There we go.
That's actually Chris's hand.
That's television magic.
I'm famous.
There it is again.
Way to go, Chris.
Those are dog treats.
I didn't know that.
Larry was also the props master among
right.
everything else.
I really like this stuff where it starts to break down because we know the characters so well, but we've never seen them
Exactly.
really bicker, and that's to me is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Especially this one coming up about the try to look feminine.
It's a golden line.
I've been
It's
thinking
the
it for a long
timing, though.
time.
Here's the timing.
Try to look feminine.
The slow burn.
Yeah.
I know. If we just
Here's an example of no mouth. You can't see the mouth.
And it's head flap.
Exactly.
Looking up, look down.
But it contrasts the film very nicely.
Yeah, it worked well.
Exactly.
Just like the film, they're getting lost in
Best prop in the whole dang thing.
By Larry Morrison.
many
Yeah.
many hours on Photoshop.
Cartoon footsteps in the ground.
Butch putting all
Yeah,
this stuff
a
together.
lot of this
Absolutely
was,
amazing.
oh, this will be easy for Butch to do, and Butch is like, guys. But he did it. It was amazing. All this shaky camera.
Well, and two, I really like on this one is a good example how we've got depth of field with the blur on
Nice
on Shaggy.
multiplaning, yeah, multiplaning there.
I think we all learned a lot about flame and tracking points and movement and different things on this job that have carried over really well to other
Oh,
things.
definitely.
And we've actually used a lot of this animation later in other projects where if we need an extra character, we'll have, like Fred was in the big game. And
Right. Actually, that animation
Yeah.
right there.
Very, very
Peanut
off.
head.
Yeah, let's say it. The
Very
most
off-model.
off-model shot of
One
Shaggy.
of that's the one I think in
Yeah.
there. The big peanut. And I think too, it was a lot of fun cutting the audio together because there's a lot to be said for overlapping the dialogue. A lot of times in the shows, in a lot of cartoons, everybody waits for everybody else to speak, and it felt
I love this
a
one,
lot
breaking
more
out of
real.
character.
Yeah.
This little panic part. His
That really-
his
that's-
little ascot is a do-rag.
That's
I like
that's
that.
in character with, is it Mike from Blair Witch?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. One thing that we actually got an email, and I was in contact with the guys who made Blair Witch, Dan Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez, and they actually really liked this spoof the best because it was so on base with the film and what the film was all about.
Well,
Really-
and how many spoofs were there? I mean,
Oh, there were so
MTV,
many. But
NBC.
each spoof made it fit, its
Yeah.
own purpose. This is an amazing job by Butch Siebert.
This is actually very early. Didn't we get this test pretty early in the process?
We're
and we
like,
went,
whoa.
oh man, this is gonna work.
Yeah,
And that's Butch.
the running stuff really made us feel
Daphne
like
showing a little gam there.
Woo! Hello.
this is the house where I used to live, and the
It's a
basement.
bare naked ladies song.
The
all of a
basement,
sudden.
the basement frightened me just as much as the Blair Witch basement, so I thought it would be perfect.
I'm opening the door.
Very nice.
Thanks.
Coming up is the chase scene that's totally done in the. It's a Scooby-Doo cliche with the doors, yet it's totally done in the Blair Witch style. And I think it's a really nice mending, and also this music.
And let's give Chris Kelly the due credit. He came up with this whole end section that is absolutely
Oh, Larry,
brilliant.
Can we
Larry and
say-
Steve too. Totally.
Can we say climax?
Mercy.
Right
and this
there.
is
There we
actually
go.
the scariest thing I think I've ever seen on our air. Because it actually gets creepy at the end. You're going, oh, mercy, really?
Opening and closing the door. I remember standing in this hallway, and Chris, Larry, and I are standing there just going, this won't work. Yes, it will. It'll work. No, it won't. It's not going to work. It's going to work. Hey.
Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah.
What are you doing in the corner?
Dear Lord, it's still creepy. This is the best though. Wait, right? Coming up. And then the capper.
Oh my God, we've killed them all.
I'm real happy they let us end on this sort of uncertain note.
Exactly.
I mean, as far as spoofs go,
The end. Or is it?